Might be just talking. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the episode from the Institute of Metaphysical Science. So you can come to our website at scientificmetaphysics.org and find out our what's available, what's happening, what events, what different products and things like that might serve your study and forward the action. So today, in the episode today, we are looking at freedom. What is freedom? Because a lot of times we think that if we just let something go, we're free. That may not be the case. So Betty, welcome to the episode. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Excellent. So let's talk about freedom. How do you want to start this out?
Well, I really want to take a look at what freedom is actually all about. And I realized that we think of ourselves as being free from something.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, that's a hint. But that doesn't tell us what freedom is.
Right.
Freedom
from something would assume that freedom isn't.
That's right. It's a negative approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's not freedom.
Right.
If you've got
it would be inside the paradox.
Yeah.
Free, not free, free, bonded, free, victim, whatever. What would be the opposite of freedom?
Limitation, restriction.
Limitation and restriction. Okay.
Encumbrance.
All right. Very good.
Yeah. So I was thinking about freedom because I was reading, working really in Mrs. Laird's book, Government is Self-Government. And she used a quote from Abraham Lincoln. And it says, "This nation under God, undermined, shall have a new birth of freedom. And that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth." So freedom is ever present. It is a state of being. It has nothing to do with encumbrances that you shed.
Mm-hmm.
When you get rid of something and you think you're free, no, you're not. You've just substituted some other encumbrance.
Right.
Freedom is when there is nothing present but one thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it goes back to the cornerstone of scientific metaphysics. If all is infinite mind, then that all is freedom. Mind being itself being is freedom. The aboutness, the way it looks, the language that shows up, all of that is not freedom. Freedom is just being.
Right. So then there's this freedom that we're talking about, and then there's my sense of freedom.
Yep.
So my sense of freedom is really in the paradox. It's really in my moods and feelings and what's happening.
The belief that you're a two-legged animal.
Right. And that's where all that lives, right?
Yep.
So it's not, and then I want to be free. So I think, oh, if I make so much money, I'll be free. I'll be financially free. I'll be, or if if life looks this way, I'll be free. I can get an RV and travel the world. I'll be free. And all of that is just maybe so, maybe not. And when you come from that perspective, freedom can always be restriction as well, because it's two sides of the same stick.
It doesn't matter if it can be. It is restricted. Okay. And really putting yourself in that position is like putting a chain on yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
You're roped in, and in addition to being roped into not being free, you always have the threat of maybe so, maybe not.
Right.
Oh, I've got money, so everything's going to be fine. Then the market crashes, or you lose your job.
Right.
The bank.
Right.
Whatever you want to say. But anything on the paradox level is always maybe so, maybe not.
Right.
But in the realm of your being, in the realm of reality, freedom is present to that one thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing else. I was thinking about it from the standpoint of the present situation we've had with the political scene here. And there were people that felt when Biden, for instance, was declared the winner of the election, that now we will be free. No, not if you think there's a Biden over there that's going to run things better for you.
Right.
There's no freedom in that.
Right.
You're just moving from one set of encumbrances and restrictions and so on to another set.
Right.
And you can smile more about them or something because you approve more. I don't know. Either way. But freedom is when you can live the picture of the world that you're walking through as evidence that being is all there is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it because there's all this activity,
Right.
like I know that I consciously am. I just know it. Well, I know that something's going on. But what's going on, correctly identified, makes a huge difference in the way you live yourself. And I just became really aware that we were stepping from the frying pan into the fire with our great exuberance, for instance, or lack of it, either way, about the election. And I thought, human beings are they set their own traps.
Sure.
They believe that they are governed by something over there that sets the record for what they can do, sets all the rules and regulations, and that if they break that rule, there's punishment or consequences or something else wrong. But we aren't, Shakespeare had it right when he said there's a divinity that shapes our ends. Being is divine.
Mm-hmm.
When it said in the first part of the Bible, it says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Well, that me is what I call myself as a human being. Oh, you're talking to me? But if I don't have any other God before me, it can't be they're talking about Betty. What is that me?
Right.
And I thought it's a word that I use to identify that I am being, that I'm present, that there's life present, that there's truth present, and so on.
Right.
So in the sense of all is infinite mind and its infinite manifestation, then I have to look and say, well, it looks like I'm a person, looks like I'm a thing here, what is that? So in studying metaphysical science, I discovered that all being has identification. It's built in.
Mm-hmm.
In the early part of the Bible, it says, and God spoke, and form appeared. Well, the form appearing is what I'm looking at. See, hear, and feel that form. But the speaking, the action of being, the action of the God idea, the action of mind, the action of soul, the action of spirit, that action is what we call man.
Mm-hmm.
And then we like to give man the credit for taking the action. Impossible.
Right.
Yeah. And then we like to blame the action for all the stuff that shows up.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, how am I living myself?
Right.
Am I living myself as a two-legged animal, trying to make things happen the way I think they should? Because I have my point of view on what's good and what's right and what's proper and so on. And we look at our government the same way. We smile when it says something that makes us feel good about ourselves. And we frown when it's something that we just cannot agree with.
Right.
And we're sure that it's all going to fall apart if they don't agree with us. and so on. And,
Right.
and we go through all these charades. But when you get right down to looking at the nature and the structure of the government we have, it's reflective of who we're being. And I have, just in the last few years here, had a graphic example. I don't think of myself as too politically involved. I don't do much. I vote every single time. I do that. But I'm not really ever participating very much in the political scene.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to the news occasionally, not all the time, for all the latest whatever. And I realized that I thought to myself, those people are taking care of that. They'll handle it. I don't have to think about that. And as long as I do that, I'm living in a multiple riddle of being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in a belief that there's something outside of my mind. Now, this is mind being the God idea. There's something outside of the God idea in action. And how could that be? So then I think, all right, so man is made in the image and likeness of the God idea. Well, if I'm reflection, there's no capacity for action there.
Right.
The action is always the God idea.
Mm-hmm.
The man part of it is what that looks like, what that action looks like. Man is the identification of the God idea. And it's relatively simple. But when your world and human living becomes burdensome and difficult and chaotic and upsetting and all of those things, what do you suppose that look tells you? See, we look over there to blame it on something. Oh, they're not doing things right. This is wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be doing something else. Well, that's not true either, because the world we walk through is actually our feedback on who we are being consciously.
Mm-hmm. And then we like to go fiddle around in the picture to see if we can change it when all it is feedback.
Right.
So there's this whole discipline to freedom.
Yep.
And that's what I'm hearing when you're talking. It's like
Well,
there's this discipline to be true. It's the something, let me finish. So there's this discipline to it in the sense of me being consciously aware of who I am.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you.
Okay. Now, what I want to say to the people that are watching, we would love any comments that you might have, any questions that you might have. You can type those in, send them to us, and we'll answer those. If you want a heart or thumbs up the conversation, if you like what's happening here, what's being said, that would be awesome. We like those too. So anyways, just enter your comments or anything, and we can do that, and then we'll just continue our conversation. So anyways, how about this quote from government? In this science, the terms God and man take on the meaning of one self-existing, self-manifesting, self-realizing life principle or mind.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about freedom with this. Like, just let's get very basic here.
Well, you're talking about one thing going on, one self-existing, self-manifesting, self-realizing presence. So that oneness, living that with nothing else going on, no external to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the all-encompassing, all-inclusive presence when I show up. If I don't invent anything, I'm standing in freedom. The minute I invent an out there or an over there or an except that, we're all in good shape except that over there. Don't want that. All of that stuff inhibits my freedom.
Yeah. Okay.
Then freedom is just a wishful thought.
Right. So what about the situation? Let's just look at a couple situations. So what about the situation when I get some news about someone that I love and adore that I don't, that doesn't fit my pictures? I'm now worried I might lose them. They might not be in my life much longer. What's a way to think about that and freedom? How to be free in the face of that kind of a circumstance?
Well, that's a hard one to put in a short sentence.
I know, but
Science teaches us that we live and move and have being mentally. So I grow the world I walk through every step of the way, all of it. And it's exactly right for me, moment by moment by moment. The
right.
minute I look to that picture for support, for encouragement, for help, I'm in trouble because all it is feedback on who I'm being.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be self-responsible. I have to allow the picture to look however it looks, because all it's doing is giving me feedback.
Right.
And I want to know what I'm walking through.
Right.
So
And
if
then
I
isn't there a
receive
certain
the
amount of
feedback,
just letting go of my opinions or my attachments?
yeah, you sure want to let go of the attachment in a hurry. We want to see that who we're being actually, let me put that a different way. We want to see that the being that we call Betty or Kim, that being is the God idea in action. And when Betty leaves that alone and rejoices in it and just says, oh, yeah, fine, on we go. And you see that bit by bit, things do open up, unfold, carry on in the world you're walking through because you're living the solution rather than generating the problem.
Right. Because you're
The
allowing the
solution
picture,
is
you're allowing the picture to be,
be feedback.
and you're allowing it to be, and you know that whatever shows up is absolutely perfect.
No, I'm allowing it to be, knowing that what exists is perfection. And if I'm not seeing that, it's because I'm expecting the picture to tell me something, and it can't. The picture is pure feedback.
Right. So it doesn't matter how much fixing and changing I do in the picture, that just defines resistance and
That just has
persistence.
it persist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've been conditioned to call man is feedback.
Mm-hmm.
If we really get clear on who we are, and there is only one power and one presence, and this is the way it looks, this feedback stuff. Oh, yeah, well, okay, fine. Let it look however it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom is right there. The minute I see that the very being of me is freedom, the attachment to the picture is an encumbrance, it's an obstruction, it's chaotic, it will not provide peace and joy and power. But allowing it to be, it disappears and gives me the next picture and the next picture and the next picture as I walk on, allowing it to be, knowing that there is one whole, perfect presencing, the God idea. And that in action is all there is to me. I don't have to take on all the burden of the paradox.
Right. So I want to, yep. So I want to back you up a little bit. So Kate says, what we call man is feedback. So go back through that a little bit and make that a little bit more clear.
What we call man, the two-legged animal, the language is feedback.
Feedback for?
It's feedback on who we're being.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what if we want to, so then what if we want to judge who we're being? Well, God, if I was really living
I'm trying to get to, let me get to the point. You asked me a question that I have, you said, what if I have a friend that's in trouble and so on? Okay, I was trying to get to that, but I haven't.
Got it. Oh, got it. Okay, I just got lost along the way.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what I was going to say is I can only live myself divinely because the world I walk through is all my own being. the best way I see it.
Right.
If I want to see peace and joy and power, it's a case of physician heal thyself.
Yeah.
It isn't like I have to help a friend. It may look that way in the feedback picture, but the fact is that divine being acknowledged is peace and joy and power.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge the facts of being and allow them to show up
Yeah.
with no resistance, no opinion, no judgment, no concern.
Yeah. Just
Mhm.
allow it to be like a willingness for it to just show up. And we don't have to attach a lot of meaning
Right.
and a lot of, oh my God. There's just one thing going on, unfolding, looking like it looks.
And it supports your well-being
Mhm.
because it constitutes you.
Okay.
That one being, the God idea in action,
Mm-hmm.
has your well-being at the root of its action.
Okay. All right. I want to bring up another quote from government, I think, just a little bit down further. Let people look unto their own self-conscious divineness if their nation is to be of help to other nations in the discovery of their freedom.
Yeah, sorry about that. I left the S out.
So yeah, so talk about this as it relates to freedoms. That's what we're talking about is freedom, but it's not what we think it is.
Right.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Well, what we've been talking about all along, we want to look at our self-conscious divineness. That is our reflective presence, action of the God idea. And then the world we walk through, which we are making as we go for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The only way it can be a help to the world we're walking through is that it is revealing that, or they're discovering their freedom.
Yeah.
It's like by my freedom, all freedom is.
Yeah.
So if I want to see a world that's free, I have to be free. And if I'm going to be free, I have to be willing. I have to be willing to leave that picture alone, that world picture that I look at, that community picture that I look at, that family picture that I look at, the computer picture that I look at,
Right.
all of that. If I'm willing to leave that alone and say, wait a minute, man is the expression of God's being. Oh, then I don't have the capacity to cause. So what's being caused and what's in action is always the God idea,
Mm-hmm.
looking like the language world I walk through.
Right.
But the lookalike is the feedback saying, this is where I'm standing right now.
Yeah.
And as I go, so goes my world.
Yeah.
So it's literally a case of physician, heal thyself.
Right. And then
Yeah.
she goes on, Margaret Laird goes on, in government is self-government. When living becomes burdensome and afflictive, right, seen as universal intelligence, right functioning is evolving a new language for its discernment.
Yeah. I was thinking about that with my concern over whether or not the government was functioning effectively in my experience. And I realized that the appearance, when you get upset and the appearance is something's wrong here, chaotic, something's not well, something's happening, and I don't like it, negative picture, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When that is happening, what is going on actually is it's an attention getter saying, hey, who are you being? What's going on here? And so right away, then I realized that I've been looking to that picture to provide something for me, and it can't do that. So it's
Right.
going to fall apart in my experience of living.
Right.
The minute I withdraw that pressure, if I can put it that way, on my picture, the minute I just let the picture alone and realize that my wholeness, my wellness, my rightness, if I can put it that way, is intact because it's the God idea in action. Then I can relax and my world comes together beautifully.
Yeah.
And solutions show up. And Mrs. Laird makes the point when you're working with her writings of letting you know that problems occur in order that solutions can appear.
Mm-hmm.
The solution is there before the problem. If I need to have freedom in my experience, I'm going to have something, I don't know what, but I will have something occur in my world to shake up my point of view, my language view, my everyday living view of freedom,
Mm-hmm.
so I can see what freedom actually is
Right.
and discover that it's never been anywhere but right where I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. And
Hard
then,
to talk about some of these things, but good to think about them.
right. And again, if anybody has any comments and you want to type those in, we can address those. Any questions, anything like that. We'll just keep going. So again, in government, huh?
I wanted to, are we running out of time or something?
We've got 4 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we've got government on page 51. Again, government is self-government. What we have been conditioned to call man is no man.
Yeah, it's
Correct.
not man at all. The thing that I look at and say, Betty, is that man?
Right.
No man there. Just a reflective view, a feedback. And what it tells me is that something consciously exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's a saying, and I can't pinpoint, I couldn't find the source of it, but anyway, it's very helpful. It says, if you're not consciously identifying your health, your well-being,
Yeah.
you are unconsciously setting up your illness, your difficulties, your problems.
Right.
So it is really incumbent upon each individual to become conscious of who he's being.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where Mrs. Eddy came up with saying you either have an experience of suffering or you're actively living your science. And I remember Dr. Dorsey's book is named Illness or Allness. It's up to you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And there's this quote that that also is part of that initial one that says, I can do something only for myself and as myself.
Yeah. And this self should be capitalized in there because we're talking about the divine being that is, in fact, the reflective presence of the God idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm able to live myself divinely, mindfully, consciously being the love that is principle,
Mm-hmm.
I shall see that all of my living is good living, right living, love living.
Right. So that's this quote here. So when I am able to live myself divinely, mindfully, consciously being. Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, any questions, any comments, any feedback, just type them right in and we will get those. This has been a really great conversation. So looking at what Mary Baker Eddy has to say, the scientist is alone with his own being and the reality of things.
The reality of things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The things are thoughts, you know.
Right.
They're not the stuff I see in the language picture.
Right.
That's just
the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last quote here that we're going to end on is the Science and Health. Why is it more difficult to see a thought than to feel one? Education, experience alone determines the difference. In reality, there is no difference.
Right. There is none.
So what do you want to say? Last thoughts on freedom and all of that for our conversation today?
I really think that the key is self-responsibility. If I don't feel free, it's up to me. Freedom is right where I am all the time. Living it consciously is another story.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'm taking away from this is willingness. I've got to be willing to allow the picture to be exactly the way it is and have no loss of enthusiasm for whatever is appearing.
Yep.
Because there's only perfection, if only perfection is, and I'm conscious of that fact, then I've got to be willing to allow whatever is showing up to be right there, because that's the only way freedom has the freedom to just go away and whatever. It just has the flow. And if I resist, if I judge it, if I do anything else with it, I'm holding it stuck. What resists persists. And then I'm in a jail cell of that resistance.
Yep.
And there's no freedom there.
In a real simple illustration, if I'm in the first or second grade in school and I'm being taught that 2 and 2 is 4, well, I have it worked out that 2 and 2 is 5. And the teachers come by and they show me, counting apples or crayons or something, that 2 and 2 is actually 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, nope, it's 5. No, now let's count them again, Betty. And we go through this routine again. Nope, it's 5. Then it is an unwillingness to look at the fact that keeps me from having the mathematics work for me.
Right.
Well, with science, the same thing's true with daily living.
Mm-hmm.
It's your unwillingness to consider what the facts might be that keeps you in bondage to your belief about what you see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's very good. It's your belief about that keeps you in bondage to what the truth may be.
Because you live the world, you live the world the way you are, not the way it is.
Yeah, always. Yeah, definitely. All right. So with that, we're going to draw this episode to a close. I want to thank all of you for being here. And again, now over the next 2 weeks, we may or may not have a session. So watch your inbox. If you haven't signed up on our list, go out to the website and do that, because we announce, and every week we're going to do it. But for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be traveling and I don't know if we're going to be able to do them or not. So it's up in the air. So just know that, but we'll be sending emails out to people to let you know what's happening. So you can always check in on Facebook or YouTube and see what we've got going on. If we are, it will be at 7:00 Central, 5:00 Pacific on Wednesday, but the next 2 weeks we may have a bye. So, and then we'll be back after that. So I want to wish everybody here in the United States of America a very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for tuning in. And let's see, we have a comment, and Brad says, thank you, happy Thanksgiving. Yay. All right. So at any rate, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode.